How's it going, everybody? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'm a mess, and today we are discussing the most popular manhwa out there, Tower of God. Now, a quick disclaimer, I can't give my full take on the story without some minor spoilers. Don't worry, I won't be discussing major events, but I will be spoiling some characters and their influence on the story. I'll be talking about what makes Tower of God good and what makes it bad, because yes, it is both. I'll explain what I mean later on in the video. For now, I'm going to focus on the plot and the characters. Tower of God follows a boy named the 25th Bam who is chasing after a woman named Rachel. Rachel wants to climb the tower to see the stars at the top. When Bam enters the tower, he is confronted with an impossible challenge. Despite knowing he will fail and most likely die, he charged forward with no hesitation. Before he even started the test, he was interrupted by Yuri Jahad, who is one of the princesses of Jahad, a title given to the most powerful women in the tower. After hearing Bam's purpose for entering the tower, she thought he was cute, so she decided to help him, and she gives him one of the most powerful swords in the tower, one of the 13-month series, the Black Marsh. He uses the sword to clear the test and move on to the second floor. From there, Bam meets Kun Agarero Agnes and Rack Wraithraiser, whom he forms a team with and proceeds to take a series of tests to see if they are worthy of continuing up the tower. Gun Aguero Agnes is an outcast of the Kun family, one of the 10 great families. After his sister failed to become a princess of Jahad, he was kicked out of the family, but before he left, he raided his father's treasure stash and got some powerful items to help him climb the tower. He's climbing the tower to take his father's position as the head of the Kun family. He's the most intelligent among the people taking the test with Bam, and he's also Bam's first friend within the tower. He holds Bam in high regards and is willing to put Bam's needs and desires as his highest priority. Rack Wraithraiser. He is a brown-colored crocodile person. He entered the tower seeking to fight strong foes. He first meets Bam when he smelled the power coming from his sword, but before he got a chance to fight him, the test ended, and instead, him, Kun, and Bam were forced into a team to finish the remaining challenges on the floor of tests. Rack, unlike Kun, develops a friendship with Bam slowly while they take the tests. He sees Bam and Goon as people he wants to eventually fight, but he would rather protect. After forming a team, they continue on to take a series of tests to clear the floor of tests. During the test, Bam finds Rachel, only to realize she doesn't want him to follow her. Despite this, Bam does everything in his power to help her climb, only to be betrayed and nearly killed by her. This ends the first season and sets up the rest of the story. So, first things first, Bam is the biggest simp in anime. Despite being betrayed and nearly killed, he continues to chase after Rachel to get her to explain why she betrayed him. He doesn't feel anger or hate, he was just confused. Tower of God has an amazing world and history, but the fact that the MC, Bam, is an unlikable protagonist for most of the series takes away from the story. So Bam is one of the things that makes Tower of God bad. Next, I will be discussing the tower and its history. The Tower of God, or just the tower, is the main location of the series. It has three sections, the inner, middle, and outer layer. The inner layer is where the chosen people called regulars are allowed to climb the tower in order to reach the top, become rankers, and have their wish granted. The chosen people come from the outer tower, which is the residential area. They are chosen by the administrator of the first floor, Hadon. Hadon can travel anywhere within the tower to scout for potential regulars to send them to the inner tower to begin their climb. The middle tower is a combination of normal people and regulars. Regulars can enter the middle area after reaching the 20th floor where they can live and work there. Now there is a place outside the tower, but there is absolutely no information on it except for the irregulars. Irregulars are people who come from outside the tower, and they tend to have special abilities. Bam and Rachel both came from outside the tower, but Rachel was accidentally summoned into the tower in place of Bam, so she has no special powers and was denied the opportunity to climb the tower. She was given an ultimatum. She could betray Bam and be allowed to climb, or give up on her dreams of seeing the stars, and as I stated earlier, she chose her dreams. The tower itself has an amazing history, with Jahad and the 10 great family leaders entering the tower and pretty much conquering it, establishing the Jahad Empire. There is more information about how the Jihad Empire was formed, but that goes into spoiler territory, so just know it gets insane. Another character who would have made an awesome prequel protagonist would be the ultimate Chad himself, Ulrich Mazzino, the irregular who entered the tower before Bam. Ulrich is one of the most powerful people in the tower. He's the co-founder of Wolhike Song, or the Wing Tree, and the biggest Chad in Tower of God. He rushes to the aid of females in the vicinity by following the sweet smell of their perfume and will proudly state that fact. He constantly flexes when he is on screen or paper for the physical version of the manhwa. He has some type of connection with Yuri, seeing how she invites Bam to join Wolhike Song, and he's running an errand for her when we first meet him. He's been known to kill Jihad rankers when they get in his way with no hesitation. If he were the protagonist of the Tower of God series, I would have enjoyed it so much more than following the biggest simp in the series. Despite having some awesome characters, Tower of God tried too many times to make them. There are too many characters in the story that some of them have hundreds of chapters between appearances, and some of them get abruptly killed off because the author couldn't fit them in the story anymore. Every arc has at least 5 new supporting characters replacing the ones from the previous arc, making the supporting cast unlikable and underdeveloped. Also, only a small handful of characters are enjoyable to follow, so this leaves the cast relatively uninteresting. The only saving grace the story had was its antagonist. Excluding Rachel, all other villains in the series are phenomenal, primarily because if the story was told from some of their perspectives, or the perspective of their allies, they would be considered the good guys. The others are just a-holes and deserve to be villains. However, one honestly should have been killed off early on in the series, and that is Rachel. Her motivation is garbage tier for a main villain. She has no special skills, she's not charismatic enough to draw people to her side, not intelligent enough to manipulate people, and yet she constantly has powerful allies who are willing to support her for no reason. She brings nothing to the group, yet she is constantly drawing people to her side. The worst thing about her is that she knows Bam is obsessed with her and will do anything for her, but she doesn't use that to her advantage. I think it would have been better for the story to have her killed off and let that be Bam's motivation to climb the tower, whether it was to avenge Rachel's death or fulfill her dream for her. Seeing how Bam's motivation for climbing the tower changes later on, the author Sui should have gotten rid of Rachel and it would have taken nothing away from the story. Tower of God has a problem with making the MC Bam look good until halfway through the series when he stops being a simp and slowly reforms himself into a Chad until he sees Rachel and falls back into being a simp. He tries to hide his obsession with her by saying he no longer cares about her, but he clearly is still simping her hard, which makes it hard to support him, especially when there are better supporting characters like Ulrich, Yuri, and even some antagonists like Jihad. Bam isn't the only bad character. Rachel has poor motivation, is a garbage tier character with the biggest plot armor in the series, and she ruins this band's reputation with her existence alone. The Tower and its multiple organizations carry this series, with groups like Wolhike Song, Jihad's army, and the anti-Jihad group Thug, who Bam is forced to join early on in the series. The story becomes great and enjoyable to follow. Bam does show some redeeming qualities by caring about others who are climbing the tower. Unlike other regulars who will sacrifice others to continue climbing, Bam goes out of his way to save everyone he can. Bam continuously grows stronger because of his ability to mimic any Shinsu technique he is hit by. Shinsu is also known as divine water, is a water that fills the tower allowing the residents to breathe. Regulars can manipulate Shinsu to fight and Bam can mimic other regular Shinsu abilities. This allows him to gain a vast arsenal of abilities early on. Each regular has a title which represents their fighting style. Fishermen are the up-close and personal fighters. Spear bearers fight from range. Scouts are the rogue characters who gather intel and fight using quick attacks. Light bearers are the chess masters who control all the info of the battlefield. And finally, wave controllers, who fight using Shinsu as their primary weapon. Bam is a wave controller, so he specializes in Shinsu manipulation. Now, people's fighting styles aren't limited to their title. For example, Bam also has some close quarter martial arts moves he uses. The fight scenes are what make Bam into a Chad. He will go up against someone who is far more powerful than him, but thanks to his ability, he continues to grow stronger the longer the fight goes on. Whenever Rachel was off screen, Bam became a strong, likable protagonist. If she had only stayed off, he would have been one of the coolest characters in any manhwa I have read. Unfortunately, he's not even the coolest Tower of God character because of her. There is one instance when Bam was not the protagonist of the series, and that is the first arc of the second season. Instead, the story followed Ja Wagnan. He is a kind person who had attempted to clear the test on the 20th floor multiple times, but continued to fail. His goal is to become the king of the tower, and he's willing to go to extreme lengths to do so. Despite having a kind and caring personality, he is willing to let others fail in order to succeed, and it takes an emotional toll on him. When he met Bam, he was frightened by him because he was a member of FUG, an organization that has spread chaos throughout the tower. He later realized that Bam was also a kind person, and formed a team with him and a few other characters taking the test on the 20th floor. Wagner is one of the good characters who goes missing for hundreds of chapters. He has an awesome background with him being a prince of the red light district. Now it is unconfirmed whether he's Jihad's son or not, and it's something that gets left on the back burner a lot. The author has stated that he plans to reveal more about Wagner and the red light district slowly, but it's too slow. Wagner is one of the most interesting characters in the series, but we know nothing about him, just that he's a prince of the red light district with an incredibly resilient body. Tower of God is a roller coaster of enjoyment and loading. I'm not sure I can recommend it to people because of how long it takes to get good. It simply isn't worth it if you didn't enjoy the first season, since it was the shortest season. Currently the manhwa is on hiatus, so if you enjoyed any of the characters I described in the video, then you should try reading the manhwa online. If none of the characters stood out to you, then don't bother, it's not worth the time. I rate Tower of God as a 7 out of 10. It's good, but it is a coin flip whether you can bear with it long enough to get to the good parts. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to let me know what you thought of this video in the comment section down below. Feel free to leave any suggestions about how I should format these videos and if I should continue with game highlights in the background or just random clips of what I'm discussing. I hope you all have an awesome day and remember to keep having fun. See ya!